Motivation is actually just a dopamine spike. Human race has always survived on hope.
So, what exactly makes systems so powerful? Now, this is for our viewers. And we have talked about systems a lot till now. But what if someone is listening and they want to, build a system for themselves? How would they go about doing so?
I would start with a quote that fortune favors the brain. And let me further explain it with an anecdote. People who watch cricket at my age, they would have seen Kambli and both Sachin Tendulkar play. And they both were equally talented, both equally successful at this stage. And after that initial success, Sachin stayed course and followed the system that he had. And somehow, Vinod Kambli lost that focus on that system. And we have seen that Sachin has become hugely successful and icon in itself, which possibly an opportunity I would say missed by Vinod Kambli. So now you may want to believe that it is fate. कि भाई If Kambli was not destined and Sachin was destined, that's the choice that you would have to make. From my perspective, I would say that Sachin followed the system, and that is why he's where he is, and calmly disobeyed the system, and where he is, it's choice of the system. So yes, that system was a reason, and that system is highly scalable. You can extrapolate the system to building your good health, building wealth for yourself, building a business. You're an entrepreneur, even building your career if you are an employee. They all governed by system, and that's a great distinguishing factor became between a highly successful and a mediocre person. Now, that was truly enlightening. So, now for someone who is listening to this podcast right now and they feel they are not lazy, they are just stuck in what they are doing. What one simple system building exercise they can start this week? Yes, I'm glad you used the word simple because most people fail by making systems that are too complicated. And over time, I've realized that the system works best when they respect how brain actually functions. So I have used a mental model and I call it simple. The first part is start small. When you have a big goal, that big goal is sounds uncertain to the brain. It triggers your amygdala, which is a fear center. That leads to inconsistent effort, and in some point of time, this also leads to procrastination. Okay. So what you could do is break down your large goal and journal them into the smallest version of what you could do today, and take those baby steps. Now, for example, if you want to finish a book, start reading 2 pages a day. If you want to wants to become a long distance runner, start by running 10 minutes. So this small consistent effort done consistently over a period of time compounds. The second part, I, stands for identity first. Now, habit sticks when they are connected to who you believe you are. So instead of asking what do I want to do, ask who you want to become. For example, I want to be a runner. I want to be an investor. I want to be a businessman. So all this behavior aligns with identity and the effort reduces. Because in the basal ganglia part of your brain, this identity helps you in automating the effort. And when you automate the effort, you reduce friction and you ensure that you're moving towards the desired vision of your own self that you want to become. M stands for make it easy. Now, the brain follows the part of least friction or effort. Now, if it feels very hard, you'll avoid it, even if you deeply care about that outcome. So, you have to reduce the friction. Keep things visible. For example, if I really want to run, I keep my running shoes ready one night before. I keep my clothes ready. So, when I wake up, I don't have to look for them. If I like reading, I ensure that my book is next to my pillow on my bedside table, so that it's very handy to even read few pages a day. I think the reason we have to do this is it becomes a part of your DNA. And by removing this barrier and make it easy, you make it automatic. P stands for pre-decide. Now, if you actually pre-decide and plan, you eliminate the trouble of making your brains to decide. The moment you take that away, that negotiation with the brain gets eliminated. Now, for example, I have a plan of doing strength training on Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. My runs are on Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday. It's pre-decided. It helps me to stay course. I also decide, okay, I want to have sweets on weekend only and not have on weekdays. So whatever be the plan, if you pre-decide, it helps you to stay on course, and the probability of it happening increases multiple fold. The next is link triggers. We have spoken about basal ganglia and we have spoken about cue. So your habits actually get triggered with that cue also. It runs in a loop. So cue, routine, and reward. If you use that cue to actually do something repeatedly, that becomes a routine. And if that routine is delivered, that is where you get the reward. So linking triggers ensures that you consciously move an effort into an autopilot mode. In a way, you're not creating a new routine, you're stacking on an old one. And finally, enjoy small wins. The brain repeats what it gets rewarded for. If you acknowledge and celebrate this win, this habit gets reinforced and strengthened. People quit not because of a lack of motivation, but because of not celebrating their small successes. For example, when I started running, it was difficult for me to run even 200 meters. When I ran 3 kilometers, I really celebrated. And when I ran 5, it was a big celebration, and 10, and then a top. So each milestone should be celebrated. Why? Because this dopamine is actually what keeps you moving to the next milestone. Human race has always survived on hope. That celebration gives you hope for the next milestone.
Wow, that simple was simply fabulous. Now, if people are following this simple, what usually changes for them?
This concept called snowballing effect. If you remember a small part of snow from the very hilltop starts rolling down, and it keeps rolling down over a period of time, it keeps accumulating more snow and snow with it, and it keeps becoming a big ball. That's called a snowballing effect. Okay? It exactly happens with following any routine in a simple format that we have defined. It compounds significantly, and that when habit compounds, magic happens.
Okay, sir. Now, one line to close this episode.
Okay. See, everybody wants to become wealthy, but उसी तरह लेकिन सबको जन्नत चाहिए लेकिन मरना किसी को नहीं